In this lesson, we will continue our coding journey and design table schema that will store all answers for our application. So an answer is created by a user to answer a particular question. And the table schema for the answer will be ID of the answer, user ID to store the ID of the user that create the answer, question ID to store the ID of the related question or the question that will be answered, body to store body or content of the answer. An answer can also be voted by anyone else, and we will need to define votes count in this case to record how many people are voting the answer. And lastly, we also need to track when the answer created or modified. So we will need created at and updated column. So that's all we need in answers table. Alright, let's go ahead and open our terminal. And firstly, let's isolate our work into a new branch. Now, we can continue designing answer schema by generating new migration along with new model that will represent the table. Here we can say PHP artisan make model answer -m. Alright, let's open the create answers table. And here we already have increments ID or auto increment ID field and timestamps, which represents created at and updated column. So here let's have question ID column in unsigned integer. Let's also have user ID, also in unsigned integer. And then we need to have body in text. And last, we need to have vote counts in integer. And make it 0 by default. Alright, let's save all this. And go to terminal again and run our latest migration. Okay, create answers table has been migrated successfully. Now, let's define relationship method in our models. Let's open question model. And here, let's define relationship method to answer model. So let's call it answers in plural. And I'm sure you already know what should we do here. Here we can return this has many answer. Next, let's open the user model. And here we need to do the same thing as we did in the question model. So let me copy this answers method and paste here. Now let's open the answer model. And here, let's define inverse relationship methods. Public function question in singular, and here we return this belongs to question. An answer also created by user. So here we can say public function user in singular, and here we return this belongs to user. And because answers body written in modern syntax, we also need to convert it into HTML using Parser library. We can simply copy from question model. So let's copy this one and paste here. Now I'll switch to question model again. And here I realized that I already have answers column in the questions table. And here I defined relationship method in the same name. And I will get trouble when accessing dynamic property. So when I call question answers count like this will be okay. But when I access question answers count or loop the answers for each question answers as answer like this, then it will be failed, because LARAVEL will firstly check the existence of the column name in the table. If it doesn't exist, but it's find relationship method, then it will be assumed as dynamic property. But if it exists, then Eloquent will return the actual column's value. So to fix this, we have two options. First option is to change the relationship method's name to something else, and we don't need to touch the existing column name in our database and in all places in our application. The second option, we keep the relationship method's name as it was and rename the column name in the questions table. Also, we need to make changes in some places, such as in question factory and in our view. You might be tempted to take the first option because it's very simple actually, but here I will choose the second option for some reasons. First, the name answers to represent relationship to answer model I think is more descriptive instead of, let's say, question answers or list answers or something else. On the other hand, answers column in questions table can be renamed to, let's say, answers count, and I think it's still relevant to describe the purpose of the column. The second, we only need to make little changes in some places. Like I said, we need to make change in question factory and in our view. And the last, I want to show you other use case when working with database migration. Okay, let's open question factory and change this to answers count, and then go to resources, views, questions, and then index.php, find answers. So here let's select all answers and change to answers count. Let's save all changes. And now we can create another migration. Let's jump to our terminal And here we can say PHP artisan make migration, rename answers in questions table equals questions. Alright, let's open the migration file. And here in app method, we can rename the column by saying table rename column The column that will be renamed is answers, and the new column name will be answers count. And here in down method, we do the opposite. Rename the answers count to answers. Save that. And now, if we run the migration, we will find error. Class doctrine dball not found. So unfortunately, modifying column requires us to install another dependency called doctrine dball. So if you open LARAVEL guide and go to migration, and then go to modifying columns, so here it says, before renaming a column, be sure to add the doctrine dball dependency to your composer.json file. So here, let's install that package by saying composer require doctrine /dbl. Alright, after doctrine dbl dependency installed, we can rerun our migration, and I'm sure we will not get any error anymore. Okay, rename answers in questions table has been migrated successfully. And now if we go to our browser and reload the page, everything should be fine. Oops, I get error. Okay, I need to change these answers to answers count. Switch to question model. And here, I'll change this to answers count. Save. Reload the page. The error should be gone. Okay, great. So now that we have new table to hold all answers, and we also have answer model to represent the table in our application. In the next lesson, we are going to pre-populate the answers table with some fake answers. As we did in questions table, we'll also learn how to utilize a log1 event to increment the number of answers in the questions table every time a new answer is created. Alright? Don't forget to save your work to your Git repo, and I'll see you in the next lesson.